Hello, everyone. Sam Shaw here, certified personal trainer, health coach, and hypnotherapist of Samwise Coaching and Hypnosis. Today, we are talking everything about freedom from chronic pain. So, if you're struggling with anything from fibromyalgia to migraines to never ending back pain, this video is for you. And I'm so thrilled. I'm joined here today by my friend Serita Valmond of GoalChasers2020 in Wisconsin. Sarita is a certified life coach and health coach, virtual and in person, with a mission to help people suffering with chronic pain regain control of their lives and live their life to the fullest. Welcome, Sarita. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Sam, for having me as well, too. It's an honor to be here with you because I know we're both very busy people, but we want to make sure we're able to go ahead and reach out and help as many people as we can.
Thank you. So, Sarita has graciously offered to provide us with her top tips to help with chronic pain. But before we get into that, Sarita, can you tell our audience a little bit about your story and how you came to do what you do now?
And yes, I can. I know we don't have all day, but I'll go ahead and give like a high level overview of basically what happened. On July 4th of 2016, I was rear-ended by a drunk driver at a stoplight. I was in an area where the speed limit was 25. She was going at least 60. So, yeah, you can imagine the impact not only on my vehicle, but also on my body as well. And from that point on, I actually was put into a world of pain that I was very unfamiliar with. To even kind of put in perspective for myself, my middle child, I had natural childbirth and was up and walking around within a half an hour and being told by the doctors, you need to go lay down. You're not Wonder Woman or Superwoman. You need to go ahead and kind of recover. And I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm fine. To going to the point of if I felt your presence of looking at me too long, if my clothing was touching me, all just extremely sensitive and in pain. And I ended up being basically what I like to call, in essence, a science experiment for about roughly close to a year, while I was going to all the different specialists and everything under the sun, doing physical therapy, chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncture, you name it, I did it all. And eventually, about roughly 9 months into it, I did see an orthopedic surgeon. And he said, hey, let me go ahead and just do a couple more tests. Do you mind? Which I kind of, laughed because I'm like, this is what you guys have been doing all the time. I'm like, this is nothing new, just go for it. And did another MRI and CT to discover that I had bone chip spurs going into my nerve in my right shoulder. And he was saying that's where all the pain is coming from. We'll go ahead and do surgery and you should be fine. Ended up having surgery about 4 months later. But unfortunately, a few weeks before my surgery, my mother passed away unexpectedly. And with that happening, I did get to spend the last 3 days with her. But the reason why I bring that up, not because, of course, being my mother and definitely being a huge, experience of that happening. But the other part of it, too, is that the irony with it is that my mother was a retired orthopedic nurse. So she actually was planning on coming to take care of me as I was going through, the physical therapy and everything to get my strength and being able to go ahead and use my right hand and everything again. So I always say, that definitely she's with me in spirit and is, always there and always, looking out for me and kind of pointing me in the right direction. And so I did, have the surgery. And after I had the surgery, though, I had to actually relearn how to use my right hand because I lost all my motor functions and skills. So I basically was, in essence, like a newborn, had to relearn, how to use my hand. And the other side of that, though, was that I was still in pain. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You guys told me that this is going to solve everything. And no, it didn't. And at this point now, I was on up to roughly 8 medications on a daily basis. And I went through the whole gamut of everything all over again that I went through prior and still was having the same, issues going on, but just not as it kind of took the edge off, so to speak, as far as for having the surgery, but still was in a lot of pain. And so eventually I was graduated into pain management protocol, which I like to say is a fun way of saying, here's your new set of pills. Where then in essence, I was on up to 15 medications on a daily basis. where that was definitely not the quality of life that I wanted to have, and especially being in my mid 30s at the time. And so I ended up eventually being diagnosed with fibromyalgia, myofascial pain syndrome, which is a fancy way of saying chronic pain, degenerative disc disease in my neck, nerve damage, and then also chronic migraines. So I was basically being medicated for all of those different things, but not actually being looked at what was the root cause of why all these things were happening. And so I ended up, basically deciding one day when I was pretty much at my lowest, because at that point, as I mentioned, I was on multiple medications on a daily basis, and I really just only had enough energy to take my children to school and to come home. And at that point, I had, high anxiety, was going through depression, and then also starting to become suicidal as well too. And so I was in bed one day, and all of a sudden I was, I just said, okay, I need to pray and meditate, because that's just part of how I was able to go ahead and try to calm my body down from the pain. And during that, I was saying, please, I just need a sign, I need a message, I need something just to say, what direction do I need to take, because this is not working. And all of a sudden my phone does the ding, like the usual message thing. And I'm like, okay, a message. And I'm like, no, that's not just a message. That's a message, it's saying like, you might want to pay attention. You might want to, like, what have you done? What have you done? What haven't you done? And
Yeah.
exactly, like I sat there to myself, I'm like, you know what? You Google everything. Why haven't you Googled everything that you're being told by the different doctors and different specialists that you're seeing?
Yeah.
And sure enough, that was the message that I needed to have. So then I just started Googling, and I didn't stop Googling. And I started finding all this information that no one was talking to me about, where, no one was talking to me about my nutrition and my diet. And not just, when I say diet, not just, what you're actually putting into your body, but also too, what environment are you around? What type of
What
media are
else
you?
fuels you?
Exactly. All those different things, weren't taught to me. Also too, looking at my stress management. I had none. I didn't even know what stress management was. And so I'm like, okay, by going through all these different things, that's a lot, right there in itself. And then also too, looking at, I'm not getting enough rest, which, rest is a very, important piece, when it comes to your healing as well. And then also too, looking at the mental healing. There's a lot of focus on the physical healing, but no one's actually talking to you as far as like the things that are going on inside your head. Because as I mentioned, I had just a few things right there that have occurred within a short period of time that wasn't being addressed, on top of the other traumatic things that I've had happen to me in my life as well. And, that's also being, all put together in one big box. So being able to go ahead and look at those things, and by me going ahead and in essence doing so, within about roughly a 4-month time frame, I was actually able to go ahead and also incorporate a movement. Forgot that part too. That's also very, very crucial as well. And by me going ahead and incorporating that, I changed my diet, went gluten-free, dairy-free, anti-inflammatory. Started meditating and also journaling and working with a therapist. And by going through and putting that combination together within a 4-month time frame, I was actually able to go ahead and get off of all the medication that I was on, plus also drop the 50 pounds that I had gained as well too. So that's basically, in essence, my story there. And from me doing that, I said, hey, what can I do with this information that I have obtained? Because I'm noticing that that's not
Big
what's
gap.
going on in the pain management, world, where it's just more or less like, here's your, here's your medication. Not to say, I'm not anti-medication by any means. I just knew for myself personally that the side effects were too much for me, and that I had to go ahead and do what's best for me. And that's really what I do is, in essence, when I'm working with clients, I'm working to see, what's the best thing and best route for them, and just really, truly, helping them out and showing those foundational pieces.
Yeah, if and when possible, our goal is always to try and reduce the amount of pills so that there's not, sometimes we take pills and then we have to take a pill to counteract the side effect of that pill. And it just keeps trickling, and to the point where we can start reducing our pills and getting our body into its own self-healing abilities. That's an ideal, right? But certainly Western medicine, it has saved so many lives. And just like Sarita said, it's not that we're knocking pills. It's just ideally we want our bodies to be functioning on its own optimally. And Sarita certainly has so much education and and personal experience. First of all, I want to say that we are so lucky, literally, to have you here today. It could have been a very different story. So we're very, very blessed. And I'm, given everything you've gone through, I'm so excited to hear some of your tips. So Serita and I actually, as you heard, we're both health coaches. We attended different schools. But what it has done, and Sarita touched upon this, is it helped us connect the dots from a holistic level to see how lifestyle factors play a role in someone's symptoms and the reduction of them. So she touched upon nutrition, stress, sleep, movement, as well as the need for mental and physical healing, whether that's seeing a counselor or working with some sort of, whether it's a Western doctor or, you know, all those non-traditional practices, all of that is a part of your physical healing. So thank you for sharing that story. And Sarita also has some phenomenal tips. If what she calls all of that her foundation. That's the foundation of someone's healing, addressing all of those areas in her practice. But there are also some tangible tips and tricks that she has up her sleeve right now that she's graciously willing to share with us. Sarita, would you mind starting? What's one of the first things people can start doing outside of the foundational work to start feeling better?
Well, definitely, there's a few pieces, of course, as you mentioned, there's multiple, but, just to kind of get on the short track, it's definitely just, taking a look at your nutrition itself as far as what you're putting in your body. So taking a look, because one big thing is that inflammation is something that ends up being a piece that a lot of people don't pay attention to. Or the thing is that, when you are putting particular things in your body, for example, like processed foods, things that have, additional, because of course not all fat's bad, but if you're looking like saturated fats and things of that nature,
In
those are
excess.
right in excess. Also, in excess when it comes like alcohol and things of that nature, those are all things. Also to gluten and dairy items in turn also happen to cause inflammation. And inflammation is just, the easiest way to kind of describe it is that, when you're looking at, for example, if you have a cut on your hand and it gets infected and you got all the lovely gunk, the pus, so to speak, going on, in essence, inflammation is that, but on the inside of your body. And that's the way I kind of explain it to make it a little bit easier for people to understand. And in essence, it's really just your immune system is overworking itself. And by having all that excess, pus in your body, it's actually pushing down in your nerves, which is then in turn causing the pain. So
Yeah,
you
and
want
that's
to,
chronic inflammation too. There's a difference between the cut being acute inflammation, it comes and it goes away, does what it's supposed to do. When it's chronic, that's what Sarita is talking about.
absolutely. So that's the part that you want to definitely, be able to cut down on that happening. Of course, stress also affects that as well too, because your body then once again is all, creating those, creating that additional inflammation inside your body. And so that's the biggest piece is then taking a look at that. And so looking at being able to eat, more fruits and vegetables, just more or less, kind of lay of the land, so to speak, and just kind of looking at things that way. Also, too, looking at your hydration. A lot of times we don't realize that we're we're chronically dehydrated, where we think that we're drinking enough, water or even just, juices and things of that nature. But you do have to be mindful of that as well, too, along with excess sugar, which that's also something else that also, affects you as well. So you definitely want to take a look at your sugar levels and really just be reading labels. And I kind of jokingly say, if you can't pronounce it, you probably shouldn't be eating it unless it's quinoa. We know that quinoa is one of those words that kind of can throw people off, but it is actually healthy. It's
There are a
okay.
few grains out there that we have a hard time pronouncing. Millet,
Exactly.
Malay, I don't know.
Right, exactly. So those are the ones that those are okay, but just, kind of being mindful of those different things like that. So that'd be the, one part there. Also, when it comes to your stress management, finding a way to actually, do it for yourself. I know not everyone, it's not a one size fits all, solution when it comes to that. But one of my biggest things is that I, learned how to meditate. I actually meditate with my clients. I teach them how to meditate as well too, just as a form of being able to go ahead and release some of the stress. Just because when your body's in that fight or flight mode, that's another thing that's basically affecting you as well too. Because in essence, now if you're kind of, doing one of these, numbers and everything, you're actually feeling that additional pressure on your body as well too. And you're in turn, making, creating more pain in your body as well. So you want to be able to go ahead and release and relax those muscles to then be able to go ahead and alleviate some of that. So that's another portion. Also journaling as well too is an awesome thing to do. And it's not, necessarily having to write everything down as well too. It can be just using voice notes on your phone, because we all have our phone, with us at all times. And so if you're like, I'm not really game on writing out my feelings and everything, well, that's okay. Say it in your phone. And then that way you can go ahead and you can listen back to it at a different time, and just being able to go ahead and see, what was going on at that time. And then also too, definitely working with a practitioner when it comes to your mental health as well is huge. Now, I always, preface it this way, that I am not a therapist. However, I have been trained as far as for transformational, for habit change, and then also working with belief changes as well, where I can work with you if you are, going with, working with traditional, therapy, that then we can go ahead and take a look, because with that, they're basically looking at things that are happening in your past versus with, with us, for example, that we are kind of in the present and then moving forward and trying to see, what things we can do to assist from there. So that's the other portion too. So really doing those combinations of things can really truly help you out. But of course, a lot of times you want to have some form of accountability, which is then where we come into play, there to be able to go ahead and assist them and kind of show them like, hey, let's, see how we can go ahead and help you move forward.
Awesome. That's great. And now I can speak firsthand. I've been working with Sarita myself. I actually asked her about some products that help reduce the sensation of pain. I have someone in my family who has osteoarthritis, and it just felt terrible to watch this person in pain all the time. So Sarita, can you give a couple recommendations for your favorite products or supplements out there that people can take to help just get a little bit of help in the immediate reduction of sensation of pain?
No, absolutely. There are a few different things that you can definitely try. Some items are actually available, off of Amazon. I'm not being paid by Amazon, so it would be nice, but not. But one would be, there's a particular, it's turmeric with curcumin and black pepper seed. That's definitely something that's been very beneficial that I've actually used. And I'll preface it this way. I'm the type of person that I try things out first before I actually recommend them to anyone to say, because I am on the spectrum of having a higher level of pain tolerance, even with me having now, kind of going through this whole entire situation, that still I have to be very, mindful of what I'm doing and what I'm taking. So that's something that actually I was surprised was able to go ahead and give me some relief. I also, which with the turmeric, that also has anti-inflammatory properties in it, which then ends up helping out on that side too. So it's a twofold situation there. So I always like, if something can give me multiple benefits, I'm all for it. So that'd be one. Also too, black seed oil. That is also another item that is also anti-inflammatory, but also helps with your immune system as well. Also, CMOS gel is another one, where that basically has like 92 of the minerals and vitamins that your body actually needs on a daily basis.
Oh, wow.
And if you want to go ahead and bump up, because your body actually needs 102. And so if you want to bump up to get the full 102, if you actually add like burdock is another item, another along with elderberry. If you add those in, that gets you to the 102. And that's something that, you definitely can, it's possible to get it from, off of Amazon. I actually know people locally, and there's also people like in different cities as well too that also offer it, that you can always check into. And then the one big one that's actually been a newer one for me that I actually was even surprised myself, because I've tried in the past and didn't work, is organic CBD oil. And with the organic CBD oil, what I had done before was I had actually used regular CBD oil, which I didn't know what the difference was until I kind of started to look further into it to educate myself. And that when I was using the latter, I should say, that actually had more of like artificial ingredients and things of that nature. And so therefore the strength of it wasn't as, as potent, versus now I actually use Navita organic CBD oil. And with that, it definitely has a higher potency with it. And also you'll see results a lot quicker as well too, where what actually pushed me to being able to go ahead and use is that I actually, as I mentioned, have chronic migraines. And I was having a migraine that was starting. And I still keep, I don't know why I do, but I still keep my migraine medication as well that was prescribed to me just in case. But then I normally try to do different things, naturally to be able to go ahead and relieve it. And I had purchased the Navita CBD oil. And I was like, I don't know if I want to use this, but I'm like, okay, you know what? This is the test. If this stuff really works, this is the time that you should try it. So I said, okay, I'll go ahead and try it. I tried it, and within about 10 to 15 minutes, my migraine was gone.
Wow.
And I was amazed. And so I'm like, okay, maybe this was just a placebo. You kind of like, you kind of just can't believe that it like worked that quickly. And I was like, okay, I'll
Fluke.
go ahead and try it, and see and that was earlier in the day. So then I took it again before I went to bed because I said, just in case, because if anyone's a migraine sufferer, that sometimes you have like what's called the breakthrough migraines or breakthrough headaches and stuff when you're trying to calm, your body's trying to calm down from the original migraine. So I was afraid that was going to happen. So I'm like, let me go ahead and just take this. And when I woke up the next morning, it was like nothing happened. I didn't have like the migraine hangover and any of that type of things I've had before when I've had them. So I said, okay, I'm sold. And then I also noticed too, because I do still have a low grade pain on a daily basis, that's the reason why I take the different supplements and things just to, offset that, just because I like to be, more on the preventive side versus, reactive, proactive versus reactive. And so
Yes.
I said, you know what, let me go ahead and just kind of, take this as well. And when I noticed was that my body actually was more relaxed and I wasn't feeling the low grade pain that I normally wake up with on a daily basis. And so I was like, oh, that's another one. That's another win-win, there for me as well. And then when I started to investigate further, as far as the different things that you can use CBD for, it wasn't only just for, the inflammation. It also is, for your skin health, for your gut health as well too, which that's a big thing, when you're looking at, everything that I'm mentioning when it comes to chronic pain as well too, is that gut
Big
brain,
field. Yeah.
yes. And also too, looking at it also helps with brain function, which one thing I noticed for myself personally is that from me being on the different medications, one of the side effects that I had is that my temporary my temporary memory is, yeah, and that's part of it. And that's why I can laugh about it now and actually say it. But, I do have problems with my short-term memory. And so that's one of those things where now I'm noticing that it's starting to slowly, come back for me, which is a good thing because I've already was doing my own research on my, on my own, trying to see, well, what different things can I do to be able to go ahead and help myself out. And that's something that I noticed has been very helpful as well, too. So it's something now that I have incorporated in my practice that I talk to my clients about it. I do offer it to them. I also have it included in some of my packages as well too. So that way, they can go ahead and try it themselves. And I don't by any means push it on anyone, but it's just one of those things where it's like, if you can find something that works, that's, natural plant-based medicine, that's not, addictive. It's not something that's going to have
Yeah.
long-term effects. It's not going to make you high or, all those different like myths and things of that nature. Then I want to go ahead and let everyone know, as much as possible.
Yeah, I can speak firsthand to the Navita, the CBD oil, the organic CBD oil, the family member that I was referencing with osteoarthritis. It takes away the sensation of pain. And now all these other, I was like, oh, she'll be so excited to learn about the brain stuff. That's great. She's been on it for 3 days. And so while her muscles are around the joints where the osteoarthritis is, while those muscles are like, hey, you shouldn't go stand on stairs, they're too weak, the muscles are giving messages to her saying don't do this, but the sensation of pain is gone. And that pressure, it's like taking weight off your shoulders and going poof. It's
Yeah.
so anyways, it's made the biggest difference. So I thank Serita incredibly for that, and thank you for all the other tips with the turmeric and the sea moss. That's incredible. So so I just wanted to touch briefly because there were a lot of things that Sarita said in there on the foundational level when you're looking at diet and all there's some things in there that maybe some viewers are going, oh my God, how can I ever cut this out? How can I cut out sugar? How can I cut out some of my favorite foods, right? Sometimes the idea of following through on things that they know they should be doing to achieve their goal, which is to feel better, might seem a little bit tricky. So that's where I wanted to just say that this is the case. And Sarita also touched upon, working with other practitioners, whether it's counselors or whatever, but that's, where I can come in too with hypnosis. When you have an emotion that is limiting your ability to follow through on what you know you should be doing to feel better, hypnosis can help. We go after that emotion. We go and find the limiting belief, the erroneous belief, whatever it is that is preventing you from achieving your success. We seek it out, we find it, and we eliminate it. So hypnosis can do that in between about 5 to 8 sessions, depending on what it is that we're going after. We go after the root cause behind the emotions that are trying to that just prevent it, just create a little bit of a barrier to following through and feeling better. And actually, so on the topic of emotions, this is a nice segue. Often pain has a psychosomatic element to it. Sarita, how is it that our thoughts contribute to our feelings of pain?
No, definitely. Sometimes it can even go even deeper than that as well, too. So, for example, there's sometimes in some instances where there's different traumatic things that have occurred that, in essence, basically those particular, emotions get trapped in your body and actually manifest themselves out as pain. So there could even be a situation, for example, if you notice that you have like a lot of shoulder or like upper body, like neck pain, it can even be just that you might be feeling like you're carrying the burdens of your family or different things that have happened in your life on your shoulders. And so just like you mentioned, being able to take that weight off and kind of push it off to the side, that's something that you are in essence doing, where then now that's sitting there and you're holding on to it, and then you're holding it as pain that's coming out through that way. So that's one part of it. But also too, as you mentioned, looking at the emotions and everything as well, being able to go ahead and also just name them, and also being able to kind of being aware of them, because sometimes we have a tendency of running from those things and being scared that we're going to get stuck and trapped in those emotions. And honestly, the emotions that are coming through, you actually end up experiencing them, believe it or not, for only about like a minute and 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It really is not like, it doesn't actually, stay. It feels like at the time that it might actually be stuck in your body, but you do have to be able to go ahead and kind of move and actually be able to move that energy out. And so with me mentioning that I'm also a level 1 Reiki energy healer as well. So that's why I kind of tap into that a little bit too when it comes to what's going on. But then also, being able to have other ways you, to pay attention to those, and also just other ways to kind of alleviate. So for example, listening to like binaural beats, is something that you can also do as far as for helping, for those different emotions. And they're actually something that you can just look right up on YouTube. And if you're having like any type of like fear, or if you're having any kind of anxiety and things of that nature, you can go ahead and actually like listen to beats and be able to go ahead
Yeah.
and have that eliminate, alleviated by doing that. Also, going back to the CBD oil, that actually is something, once again, it also kind of helps with those emotions too. It does help with anxiety, and also, with depression as well. And so those are some things that, especially with it being chronic pain, for example, a lot of that can have different emotions that come up, whether it be grief, for example, because you're kind of grieving what your old life used to be. And now you're trying to adjust to your new life of where things are at. Also just looking at, how things have occurred, just throughout, dealing with doctors and things of that nature, where sometimes it can be very difficult and you do start to feel alone. And so being able to go ahead and recognize those different things and having, a support system that can definitely help you out is also a big, a critical piece as well.
Huge. I love that. Quick question on products. So for any of these, can somebody can just go into a store and buy them, or should they always consult their doctor, their practitioner before buying any of these?
I would definitely say, as far as for being able to go ahead, they can do that. It's one of those things that's recommended, but everything that I'm mentioning to you is natural items. So unless you know for a fact that you have like some sort of like a food allergy, or anything of that nature, then you should definitely be okay. But I always say, it's better to be safe than sorry. Definitely go ahead. And even as a matter of fact, too, I sometimes recommend for my clients to go ahead and do allergy testing and things too, because sometimes you don't realize that it could be a food sensitivity or an allergy that can also be affecting things too. I just kind of mentioned some of the high level ones that I know for a fact, like gluten and dairy is just like, it's there. The science is out there saying that, yes, these are items that happen to, cause inflammation in your body. But to be able to go ahead and dive deeper, like I personally have gone and had an allergy test, done just to see for myself, and been able to go ahead and start to slowly remove some of those items out of my diet and see how my body reacts to it as well.
Awesome. Well, Sarita, I want to thank you again for being here today. What an incredible wealth of knowledge. And again, we are so thankful to have you around to be doing the work that you are doing, because there's just too many people suffering in pain and they don't have to. They, just like you, they can take control of their life and change their future. And I'm so excited that we even just had a taste of what you have to offer. So again, to summarize, if you are struggling with chronic pain, you can start feeling better today. You can start looking at the foundation of your health and overall well-being, whether that's how sleep, nutrition, stress, the mental and physical healing aspects, movements, all of these things are interrelated and contribute to one's overall health and wellness. um, any of the anti-inflammatory nutritional tips, the products that Sarita offered, which we're going to put in the comments section of this video as a little recap, so you don't have to be furiously writing notes right now. And finally, if you are struggling to carry through on any of these issues, whether you're trying to look at your diet, or maybe you have chronic stress that is affecting your pain levels, there may be a subconscious limiting belief or emotion that's standing between you and your goals. And if that's the case, hypnosis can help you overcome it, so that you can do what you need to do to live your life to the fullest. Both Sarita and I offer complimentary consultations, and both of us offer virtual sessions via Zoom. Zoom, sorry, that came out weird, like an S instead of a Z, whatever. Anyways, so Sarita can be reached at GoalChasers2020 at gmail.com. That's goal, GOAL, chasers, CHASERS 2020 at gmail.com. And of course, we'll have her link for her complimentary consultations in the comments section of this video. And I can be reached at samwisehypnosis.com. That's SAMWISE hypnosis.com. Thank you again for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed all this information as much as I did. And Sarita, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you as well. I appreciate your time, and you definitely take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.